Hello everybody, Dave Neal here, stand-up comic host of Bachelor Nation News. In this video, Clayton Echard is interviewed by Jason Tartick on his podcast, Trading Secrets, and it's fascinating, folks. It's a fascinating conversation. How being the Bachelor was an actual pay cut for Clayton. A lot of contestants don't have high-earning jobs. They go on the Bachelor, and then the influencer world kind of ramps up for them. But in Clayton's experience, it was actually the reverse. We're going to get into all that. He talks about how much he made professionally as a practice squad player in the NFL, the decision to go on Bachelorette and The Bachelor, and also his mental health. We learn a lot about the ins and outs of his relationship with Susie, his recent ex, and how she actually encouraged him in certain ways. Very fascinating conversation. Follow me on Instagram at DNeals. I'll be live right after this on Patreon at patreon.com/Dave Neal. You guys know that I love talking influencer finances when it comes to this channel. I mean, I've been wanting to make a podcast for ages where I just talk about the hustle culture and doing things that are non-corporate to make a living. You guys know that. I guess I work for a corporation being YouTube, but I don't have them calling in like, hey, did you punch in your time codes? No, I upload videos, you watch them, and the rest is history. All right, let's get into it. So, Clayton Echard's post-Bachelor earnings. Let's hear him talk to Jason Tartick right here. You can go check the whole thing out on YouTube or their podcast.
Okay, so about $20,000 in debt. You graduate playing D1 ball, and then it's an undrafted deal you got with Seattle. Tell people about what that is.
Yeah, so I had interest to potentially be drafted in the NFL. I ended up not getting drafted, so I was brought in for a tryout as an undrafted free agent. I made the team from there. But most people think that, okay, all of a sudden you sign a contract and there's a difference between a guarantee and and money that's guaranteed and money that's not. And so I signed I think it was a 3-year, $1.4 million contract. All my friends are like, oh my gosh, this dude's a millionaire, right? Yeah. Not a single cent of that was guaranteed. So
of course he ends up getting cut like most people do, and he only made about $5,000. So a lot of people, there is wealth to be made in football, but you got to play 3 or 4 years. You have to get that like veteran salary and whatever. All right, so then he talks about going on The Bachelorette. So that was a kind of a big deal, formidable moment for him to even make it onto the NFL, even as a practice squad. I always say, just to get drafted or signed onto a team from a tryout that's good for him.
And you get a call from The Bachelorette. And what was the decision process to either go on the show or continue to work as a rep?
Yeah, so I essentially was in a position where,
So I skipped over, but at this point, he's a medical sales rep, and he has to decide if he wants to take time off from his high-paying job. He says that the average good medical sales rep makes $200,000. He says, do I want to take the time off to go on this show for a month or two?
I was having my quarter-life crisis. I hit my 28th birthday, and all of a sudden, I'm like, I've been doing the same thing for the last 5 years. I don't feel like I'm really progressing. I had a senior rep that was going to be retiring in the next few years, so I saw my future right in front of me, and I just felt, I want to do something more. I'm not finding what I want from a relationship standpoint here in a college town, and so I started to look at jobs elsewhere, and I almost took a job in St. Louis. I actually had the offer in my email, and then I told my boss that I was leaving, and he's like, what's the opportunity? I told him, he goes, you don't want that opportunity. Did they tell you that they're losing these surgeons? I was like, no. He goes, they're about to lose all this business. You're walking into a trap. So I went back to them, and sure enough, they're like, yeah, we're losing them. Why? I was like, you didn't tell me that. They're like, yeah, we did. I'm like, no, this is not good. But then my job was like, well, are you going to leave? So then there became like this shaky ground underneath me. And meanwhile, all of a sudden I get a DM from this recruiter saying, do you want to go on The Bachelorette?
So they DM'd, that's how you
DM'd me, yeah.
Found DM.
Yeah, I made
Check those DMs, people.
Yeah, I made an Instagram like 4 months prior because all my friends weren't on Facebook anymore. So I was like, gosh, I have to download Instagram.
And of course, the show knows their proprietary blend of drama involves casting former athletes. My thought is athletes obviously are in peak physical condition and they play up to that side of the audience that might want that thirst. But also, athletes can be manipulated because they want to do what the coach says. So again, this is just the kind of the thoughts we've had over the years where we go, we see a lot of pageant queens and a lot of athletes, a combination of people just trying to please their quote unquote coaches and judges, which can lead to a lot of producer manipulation.
Now, and so I made that and they found me and I thought it was fake. But then at this point, I'm like, well, my current job thinks I'm going to leave. So if I'm going to jump, I might as well jump when the ground's shaky underneath me.
That's great. Jump while the ground's shaky underneath you. I always say leap in the net will appear. But we are going to see moments where Clayton didn't get the success he wanted right away and went back to his former life. And I think we all have this issue where we're kind of baited between doing something entrepreneurial or doing something that's a risk versus something that is safe. And a lot of people choose safe because safe has health insurance. Safe has all the reliabilities of things you know. I always say I'm lucky that I came from, I got into entertainment at such a young age that I never had a high-paying job to turn back from. It was kind of all or nothing. But guys like Clayton, he's getting paid what a senator is getting paid. He's making almost $250,000 here. Does he want to just put that all on pause for something else? But like most people that work in some form of corporate life, you just how many turns around the sun do you have before you go, you know what, I just don't feel fulfilled by what this offers?
There wasn't much talk about you being the Bachelor, at least publicly.
No.
And then all of a sudden, Clayton's the Bachelor. And people are like, wait, what? What's going on? Tell me about this. So for you, did you expect to be the Bachelor? And did you go back to work in that time frame from the Bachelorette and then going to take the lead?
Yeah, no, I went back to work, and I was as shocked as everybody else. I mean, I think it was, I honestly was just, my whole goal was like, to go on the show, I thought, okay, I'm going to be able to cast a wider net, and I'm going to be able to, someone's going to see me and be like, oh, this guy's in middle of nowhere, Missouri. I like him. I'm going to reach out to him on social media. That was my thought of going on the Bachelorette. Was like, so I could find a relationship, settle down, be happy, because my job was good. Again, I made decent money. And then I just thought, I got there night one. First guy I saw was 6'8", and I'm like, I'm out night one for sure.
How do you think I felt?
And of course, he ended up making it to 8th or so. So he did much better than he thought he would do. But I can relate. He says, all right, look, I'll go on the show. Maybe I won't. If I don't find love, at least I'll build some social media audience, and then that'll help with the dating. I mean, look, this is just 2022, folks. The fact that like having a better social media or even being verified can leapfrog you to a higher like dating market. This is just how it is.
When you signed to be the Bachelor, being compensated by ABC, or did you make more in 1 year medical sales work at the rate you were working?
I made more medical sales.
Okay.
Yeah, I think again, people thought I became a millionaire from the show. It's like, no.
I always say this, you can become, or at least this is how it's been in the past, a millionaire from the show if you play your cards right. The show's not going to guarantee you that sort of success. But if we look at former contestants, even if you take Katie Thurston, who hasn't built as big a following as others, you can see that, clearly there's money to be made. Some would even say up to $1 per follower per year. She hit 1 million and is down to 800,000. I use her as an example versus some of the bigger ones because this is more of a recent Bachelor versus Michelle. And of course, we do have an issue in, the alumni where alumni of color aren't getting as many follows on Instagram as the white leads. That's just how it is because we've seen that with Rachel Lindsay and Michelle Young and others. Now, I bring that all up because obviously Clayton says, I was told, I was going to be able to make money from all this. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, you can, but male alumni don't necessarily make as much as females because the women can market to a female audience. I'm in a weird but lucky niche because my audience is 92% women, and YouTube doesn't care that I'm a male because they're just marketing on the end user. Versus influencers, the face of who you are, if Clayton has 100% female audience, he's not going to be able to just sell L'Oreal foundation. I mean, maybe he could, but it's just not going to be like a Hannah Godwin or somebody that's really going to, like a Rachel Lindsay. Like a Rachel Kirkconnell could sell, or Rachel Lindsay. I don't think Rachel Lindsay, she does bigger. I think she was working for Lexus. Either way, the point is there's lots of money on the table, but it's not necessarily just given to you.
It's not the case. You don't get paid as much as people think.
Gotcha.
Not bad money. It's just not. I was making more in medical sales.
Okay, you get off the show, and then you have this social media platform, and you're getting called to do all these things. From a work and compensation standpoint, were you making more post-show with everything going on than you were as a medical sales rep?
No, much less.
Much less.
So there was, again, I heard in the past that people come off the show, and it depends if you're a woman or a man. There's a big discrepancy there as far as how much people are making. I came off the show, I was getting a couple ad deals, but making substantially now less, which that then drove my anxiety up through the roof because I was told I was going to be, they're like, you won't have to work a 7 to 3 anymore. And I was like, okay. So I started to believe it. I'm like, this is great. I'll be able to do whatever I want comfortably.
Now, I appreciate his honesty here. He said, they told me I wouldn't have to work a day job anymore. Like, yeah, I'm sure they did. That's a big selling point to get you, because it's not just about finding love. You got to put your life on hold, for him to be like, all right, oh, geez, I'm going to be turning down my salary job or all my high-end sales and my bonuses. They said, oh, no, you're going to make a lot of money doing this. And of course, it's gone, like we've said, it's declined since its heyday of a few years ago. But also, Clayton never really got the ball rolling with his social media. He does have a good Instagram, but not nearly what former elites have.
And it was anything but comfortable. I stepped off the show. I'm like, oh my gosh, like nothing's coming in. And I don't know, I think it's just the day and age, things are transitioning. I think people are getting tired of influencers and to some degree. And the opportunities just aren't where they used to be at the height of the show a year ago. Or 2 years ago, whenever
Interesting. So everyone that comes off the show has different scenarios and stories. And like you said, it has a huge impact on when you come off the show. For you, what was next? Did you say, I'm going to go back to medical sales rep? And where are you today professionally? What's going on?
So Clayton Echard's got 290,000 followers versus Colton Underwood, 1.9 million, Ari Jr., 800,000. So yeah, of course, he's got it 1/3 to 1/5 of what some of the other former elites have. And, that'll grow over time, but not, he, unfortunately, his season was a rough one. A lot of people weren't rooting him on the way it ended, and that probably leads to a lot of people saying, you know what, I don't really care to follow his journey, which is too bad because he seems to be a solid guy.
Yeah, so my then girlfriend at the time, Susie from the show, she said, hey, you should chase your passions. What are you passionate about? I said, well, I like to talk about mental health because I've been talking about this back since I started opening up about it in college to my friends and all that, as far as with body dysmorphia and then how that caused a lot of depression, anxiety in my life. So I was like, okay, I want to do something with mental health. I'm not sure what that looks like. And then I also thought, okay, I like physical fitness. Like that helped me as well tremendously, establish more self-confidence in myself. So I thought, okay, I want to do something in that realm. So I decided that I was going to give back with utilizing my platform through creating workout plans and selling them.
Cool.
And I thought, okay, I have 300,000 fans or followers, and I said, if I can get a few people to buy these programs for $30, I can make an honest living. So I spent a month. I built my website myself, which in hindsight I should have just paid someone else to do it. I spent so much time; it turned out terrible, but it was something. But I ended up launching it after a month and a half. I sold 2 programs, $30, made $60.
Made $60 after a month and a half worth of work.
And I panicked, and I was like, I'm going back to corporate because I knew that I could go back to a 6-figure salary just like that, and in medical sales. And so I was like, I'm going right back.
Sure.
I panicked, and she was like, no, Clayton, did you really do all that you could? And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, well, look at all the other people out here that have made a successful career. Like, does your page look like theirs? She kept telling me, copy genius. Like, whatever works, go follow that script. So I went back through a second time. So thankful that I did, and that's why I'm so thankful for her in my life, because even though we're not together now, I needed that push from someone to say, hey, take a deep breath, do more, try it again. Don't just quit after the first time.
Yep.
So I went back in the second time, and then I upped my offering from the the $30 to 165 or whatever, and with a contract in place and then I ended up bringing 70 people on in 3 weeks.
All right, so he got 165 and he brought in 70 people in 3 weeks. What a difference that makes. And how about that? 165 times 70 is $11,000. So it went from $60 to $11,000 just like that with the help of Susie. But I love that idea of copy genius. It's he's not probably great at designing websites, but he's great at building muscle. He's great at working out his body, and he's got this approach to sort of he's got a motivational approach. So that's so amazing that he had Susie there to kind of coach him through his own struggles, to say, you didn't give it your all. They say leap in the net will appear, but you have to truly leap. You have to truly feel like you're out there giving it your all, and then you will find a net, and that net being whatever the next steps are, that reflect the reality you're trying to create.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing that I've learned is to listen to your inner circle, and anything outside of that, don't listen to it, because it's just external noise. And I lost myself in my way by reading every single comment online, and I started to believe that narrative. Everything that was said about me and the death threats I was receiving, and people telling me that I'll never find love and I should just crawl in a hole and and remove myself from this earth. I was getting thousands of messages every day with that nature, and I started to believe it. I was like, one comment's one thing, but thousands of comments, you start to believe like maybe I am this person that everyone thinks that I am. So I learned from this experience that, you know, when I shut that all down and when I went outside and just talked to people in the real world, you know, I might have had 10,000 plus negative comments in my DMs, but I've only ever had 2 people tell me they didn't like me in person, and they were both drunk. So, I think,
so right.
But I mean, you know, some of these people might have not liked me either in person as well. But the whole point that I realized was, you know, if this was actually Caitlin told one of the best pieces of advice I ever got. She said, "Don't go shopping for pain because you always find it."
Wow. Don't go shopping for pain because you always find it. I think that's some advice I need to take along with anyone else who's got some internet presence, because you will find it, folks. All right, find me on Instagram at DNeals. I'm going to be on Bachelor Rush Hour, the podcast this afternoon, to wrap it all up. Let me know what you guys think. More content coming your way.